Welcome to this session, this last session of a very, very long and fantastic day. This session is customizing SharePoint with site design and site scripts. But before we get started, let's hear one last word from a silver sponsor. This is from Concurrency. And let me make sure I remember to share audio if the screen comes up. There we go. Come on. And let's do. Oh, come on, computer. No, here we go.
I'm Nathan Lesnowski, Concurrency's Chief Technology Officer. Concurrency is an organization of change agents. We make a difference, and we partner with businesses on the change that they need right now. Concurrency engages IT operations to build an efficient, capable cloud for the business. It also partners with the business in disruptive change to bring about new revenue and to bring about operational savings. We partner with businesses like Brunswick Corporation on a connected boat platform and migrating them to the cloud. We also partner with businesses like Clover Imaging that are doing AI-enabled distributed warehouses. We partner with businesses like Duff & Phelps that need to engage their customers with modern app platforms. And also engage customers like Rockwell Automation that are doing secure modern workplaces. Concurrency partners with organizations that need change agents and have change agents. We're here to help bring about change that drives new revenue and operational savings in your business. Let's work with each other today.
All right. And let's bring it back to the speaker. Thank you very much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you, Heather. It's been a great conference. I've been following it from the morning. So M365 Chicago has been really awesome. So pleasure is mine. I'd like to start with my presentation for today. I'll be speaking about a very interesting topic called as how to customize your SharePoint with site designs and site scripts. So to introduce myself, my name is Nishanth Shreepad. I'm a Microsoft 365 specialist at Cognizant, and you can find my LinkedIn below. And I'd also like to thank it's a massive thanks to all the sponsors and also the organizers for putting up this wonderful conference. So thanks to all the sponsors. And again, during these tough times, we know everyone needs an extra helping hand. So it's a great cause that the M365 Chicago is doing, where we are supporting the Chicago public schools through the Children First Fund. So feel free.
Sorry to interrupt. You're not sharing slides. I see you.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
There we go. You got it.
Okay. So is my screen still on, Heather?
You got it. It looks great now.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry for that. And again, as I was saying, feel free to donate. So an extra helping hand always goes a long way. So feel free to do whatever it is from your end. So coming back to the agenda. So today we'll be talking about SharePoint. So SharePoint, the provisioning engine, how it is, how it can be customized, and all those things. And then we'll get into a interesting topic of how site designs and site script play a very important role in your site customization experience. Then we'll see the site theming, which is also a very branding kind of experience. And we'll see a couple of new features, and then we'll keep some time for the Q&A, and we'll be concluding the session. Again, to introduce myself, Nishanth Shreepad, a technology specialist at Cognizant. You can find me at this LinkedIn handle, as well as you can hit me on Twitter. I would like to call myself as a Microsoft technology enthusiast who's literally trying to catch up with the changes they may release regularly. So I work on Power Platform. I have around 10 plus years of experience playing around with SharePoint. So I started my career with SharePoint and been with various versions of it. And now after the advent of SharePoint Online, I've been working specifically with various other product suites like Power Platform, SPFX customizations, and anything related, anything in and around the SharePoint platform. So I'm literally trying to catch up. Let's get started with SharePoint and SharePoint, the provisioning engine. So I don't think anybody needs an introduction to SharePoint, right? SharePoint has been there for a long time now. Everybody knows SharePoint as a collaboration platform. So when it released with 2001 and 3 and 7, 13 with other versions, the main thing everyone has been trying to do with is trying to customize the SharePoint experience, right? So it's a collaboration platform working on different templates. You have templates ready in the backend, which you could use it to just trigger up or provision a site. So when I started my career with SharePoint, I started Googling around the perfect definition for SharePoint. What would be a perfect definition for SharePoint? Some called it a collaboration engine. Some called it a site creation engine, or maybe an team space or something, multiple definitions, right? But again, the best one that made a lot of sense was provisioning engine. Everything got provisioned with clicks on your site, right? So imagine the situation where you had to create multiple sites, one for testing, one for dev, and multiple sites for your teams, finance, and all those things. How would you do that? That's why SharePoint came in as a provisioning engine, which rather the work of doing for 20 days where you had to create different lists, different pages, and all those things. Everything was packaged as a template, which was in your backend store, and that could be used to literally trigger or create a site within few clicks by an IT admin. An amazing concept. But again, this came as a template within, right? So it was a template base. So it had its own style, it had its own, what do you say, the styling, branding, everything was there. From then on, what we have been trying to do as developers or users, the main thing that we have been trying to do is templatizing it to our needs and branding, which is a very important use of a SharePoint aspect of your SharePoint usage. So we have been trying to templatize it. We tried feature stapling, we tried various site templates and all those things in the previous versions. And we consistently have been trying to brand it in the way we want. So to give you a backend on how it all started, right? With 2007, basically where the SharePoint kind of changed its course or became very big, right? Where master pages and page layouts were introduced. So you were able to do a lot of customizations and people started putting a lot of code. So they started putting in code on your master pages, page layouts, and all those things. And we try to literally customize everything from by putting in code. So that's when the need for theming, right? That was a very big thing. So you had to put CSS. Then 2010 came, which made it a little bit more client-side version of it, where you could put in CSS based on some kind of palettes. You could create it from a PowerPoint palette and then upload it as a site theme and use it in your SharePoint site design and all those things. So 2010 was like that. Then came 2013, which went one step forward with the design manager in the backend, where you could create HTML snippets, add your HTML snippets, and convert it into a site design. So the story has been really amazing on how this has been going on your branding perspective, right? But again, everything is kind of, what do you say? You have to upload certain things into the servers. So with the advent of SharePoint Online and the advent of modernizations in the IT world or in the net or the internet, right? So everything has to be modern now. You can't have an old classic infrastructure which runs based on some templates that are stored somewhere and all those things. So the modern site infrastructure does not support saving as templates. Every modern site creations are on the fly and has to be non-destructive. So when I say non-destructive, and it's just a very important term, all your customizations can't harm anything that is already present. So we also know the story of how we have been evolving. The SharePoint has been evolving as a platform when it comes to custom web parts and all those things, right? We literally used to put in a lot of C# code packaged as visual web parts into your SharePoint environment, with deployments going over to the weekend where we used to deploy into production and all those things. So how Microsoft has been trying to do is they have trying to go from this approach and move into a non-destructive approach. We saw web parts change from web parts to apps, which literally the provider hosted and your SharePoint hosted app trying to run, execute away from your SharePoint side. Your SharePoint hosted apps ran in a separate app web, a provider hosted app ran in your separate environment altogether. So basically what Microsoft has been trying to do is run this as a non-destructive environment. So with all this being done and with modernization kicking off, you need to also have certain kind of, we need to also have a plan for your site designs. You can still have templates stored in your hives and then kick it from there, right? So that's where your site designs and site scripts come in. It's part of your it's part of your modernization, and it's a great approach which we'll see in the next slides. We'll see how this works, and it's a non-destructive approach. So having said that, let's get into the next slide, which is next topic, or after SharePoint, right? We'll get into the next part of it where we'll introduce you to SharePoint site designs and site scripts. So basically, what is a site design? Site design is nothing but a collection of scripts. That is, site design is nothing but a collection of your site scripts, and site scripts are nothing but a collection of actions. So site design is a collection of site scripts, and applying the site design basically executes all those actions. It can apply on a site creation. How do you trigger it? You trigger it on a site creation. You can manually trigger it, or you can also trigger it on joining a hub. So I'm pretty sure everyone who has seen SharePoint online, right, has seen this screen. When you try to create a team site or a communication site, this is the screen you get. And this part, right, where it says choose a design, is where all your site designs are staying. So these are not templates. These are a topping to the site, right? So site designs basically run on top of the site. So changing a site design does not exist any of your existing architecture or the existing SharePoint sites. So again, non-destructive, runs on top of the site, and can be can be invoked manually, or can be invoked on various triggers like site creation. So we have seen various we'll see it in the next demo as well, but we have seen various out of the box designs like topic, all blank, and all those things coming as part of your SharePoint enterprise. But again, in this session, we'll see how you can create custom ones, because custom, we need to, as an organization, right, there is always a need to enforce your users to have a certain branding standard within your organization. You can't have one person creating on topics and all those things. You need to enforce that team sites get created like this. Your finance sites have this particular design having certain logos or certain colors. You need to distinguish all those things and enforce it to the users. So basically, site design is what executes your site script and can be found over here. So now, what a site script then? So we know site designs run your site scripts. So what is a site script? A site script are JSON files that specify an ordered list of actions to run when creating a new site, or maybe when you manually invoke it or joining a hub. So these are actions these are not templates. Again, nothing is template here, right? So we were talking about non-destructive, nothing. Site designs, site scripts are not templates. These are toppings and run on top of any of the sites. When I execute something like this, it doesn't go ahead and create a template of it, or doesn't make sure that it gets something from here and applies to it. It runs on top of the site. Your SharePoint backend communication and your team site is still there, but this script runs on top of it. These are actions, not templates. Site script can be run again on the same site after provisioning. So if so, these are intelligent scripts, right? So for example, I have a site script here. So again, as we were saying, this is a JSON formatting thing. This is the format which we'll go through in the demo. But again, this is the format in how it would be. So it has a schema. It has all the actions. For example, you see an action over here called apply theme, which would find a theme called as Contours Explorers on your tenant and apply it. There is a verb called as create SP list. You give the list name, specify the template type. Maybe if it's a custom list 100, if it's an announcement 107, different, all those template types can be found online, and you could use that as what kind of a list you're trying to create. And under sub actions, you can set a description for the list. You can add various fields. You can see here there is a text being added over here. Is required. Does it need to be added to a default view? All those things you can play around with these things, and you can specify this site script or this actions so that they run when a site design is run. So there is certain limitations again with SharePoint and Office 365, right? This is with Microsoft product where we need to also take care of the performance. We have all been very much used to the 5,000 limit of threshold for the SharePoint list and all those things. So in order to keep all those things intact, so Microsoft has been working on upgrading it. It was 30, it has gone to 300 actions now. But again, there is definitely a limit on the site script actions you can have. You can have 300 actions or up to 1 lakh characters. And there is also a limit on the number of scripts you can run. You can run 100 site scripts and 100 site designs per tenant. And also a site design can run multiple scripts. For example, if I have multiple scripts or if I have bifurcated it into different site scripts which perform different actions, I can pass them all in an array and run in an order list. So that's about the site script. Hope everything is clear here. So it's pretty much simple. Everything non-destructive. Site design is what runs the site script. Site script is a collection of actions in a particular format, which is in a JSON format and has certain keywords and all those things that has to be used for. So this create SP list, there is a certain set of things for now. So we can see it later on Microsoft documentation where there are multiple things where you could play with various actions or various verbs. And again, Microsoft keeps on adding things as we talk. So what can be the use cases of using the site designs and site scripts? So common site templates like Teams, Finance that need a similar configuration and logic. There you go. You can use your similar to what we used with site templates in our earlier versions. You could definitely it would be a use case of applying site designs and site script, custom ones to enforce that your teams and your finance and your sales team specify or use it in the configurations that they require. And sites that need setting like governance and all those things. For example, when anybody is creating a site, if I need to enforce certain kind of other things, right? For example, maybe creating turning on an analytics or maybe setting a governance. For example, I need to have a limitation of 500 major versions on a document library. Or if I need to have major versions, minor versions, if I need to specify editing and all those things, all those settings on the governance can also be set on your while using your site design and site scripts. And also you could update your existing sites. You could invoke your existing sites to run the site design. And this gives an opening for our developers to perform certain administrative tasks like adding versioning limit, content types for already existing sites. So these are certain use cases that you could try using the site designs and site scripts for. So let's see the available commands, right? So what we have been seeing, what we have been talking earlier, or the verbs, right? You have set descriptions. You can add a SP field. You can delete an SP field. You can add SP field XML or a lookup field XML, right? This is for you can play around with these things to add certain lookup columns like your SharePoint lookup column, or maybe you could play around with to add a manage metadata column and all those things. You could, these are all camel based. You could find out the proper formatting of it, and it has a syntax that you have to follow, and that is how you could add it. You could add a site column. You could also add an SP view as part of your site script. You can remove an SP view, add a content type, remove content type, add a SP field custom formatter, right? For example, nowadays all list customizations are JSON based. So we have been using it to customize a list so that it looks in a certain way. So that can be done using this set SP field custom formatter. You could add a field customizer, which is already deployed, an SPFX solution that is deployed to be added as part of your SharePoint environment. You could add a command set. You could set titles. You could define new site columns, navigation links, apply themes, set branding properties, set site logos, joining a hub site, install an SPFX solution or an add-in. So register an extension. You could activate a feature. You could configure regional settings, manage guest access, and you could also trigger a Power Automate flow. So when I say trigger a flow, this kind of opens up an different environment, right? Or a different, what do you say, an approach for all developers or power users to do something that is not readily available in the second or in the current verbs that we have. So you could customize your Power Automate, and then you could trigger a Power Automate. So triggering a flow, trigger flow is a very important thing, which gives an ability to trigger a Power Automate flow, which allows you to specify any custom actions that is needed beyond the actions provided natively in the site scripts. So for example, if you want to do something like add a custom code, for example, if you see the diagram over here, a SharePoint site can call a trigger a flow, which we just saw. It's part of your work. And doing that, it can call an Azure function. And again, Azure functions have the ability to run PowerShell scripts. It has an ability to run your custom code and all those things. So native and your all those things. So you just have to set a storage queue and make sure that you trigger a flow and it sends a message. And whenever a message is sent, an Azure function specified to it runs. These are all HTTP based calls. You could create an Azure function, get the direct URL of it, put it in your HTTP event on your Power Automate and run it so that when you trigger a flow, the Azure function is called and it applies all those things or all those settings that are not readily available here that you have done in an Azure function. So when an Azure function basically runs, it gets the site and all those things and does an extra thing that is available in your PowerShell and all those things. And you could do all those things. This kind of opens up a very big opportunity for all the developers to customize your site design, to call to use site scripts that basically trigger a flow that opens up an Azure function to do a lot of things that are not readily available. So that's one great verb that we have, trigger a flow, that we could use. So having said that, we'll with the interest of time, we'll walk through the demo and show how site design can be used, a site script can be done, and all those things. So let me bring up my hope I'm still sharing my screen. Heather, can you see my script?
We can see it.
Perfect, thank you. So uh, again, this is SharePoint and SharePoint site, right? My custom environment where I want to show how we are talking about what we're talking about here. So when I create a site, as we were talking, you have options to create a site. You can create either a team site or a communication site. And this is where your site design happens. The only thing, I mean, as a developer, right, or as a branding expert, as a UX person who doesn't know anything about uh, PowerShell and all those things, the only caveat for now is that uh, the site design is the only thing that has a UI. Anything else, creating a site script and also maybe creating a site theme and adding a site theme, all those things has to go through PowerShell. So um, let's go through the PowerShell, create a new site design, which comes over here, apply it and see how that works. So again, as I was explaining while we were going through the slides, you could create a site script which goes through a format. For this, in the interest of time and for this demo, we'll not go through all the verbs that we have, but as we saw all the verbs that we have. So currently what we are doing is we're just applying already existing theme. We'll also see how to create a theme. So for it, I have a custom cyan theme over here, which is already created. The site action also creates an SP list called as customer tracking for a customer list format. Custom list format creates a description for it saying it's a list of customer and orders. It adds a couple of fields. You could still play around with XML and all those things, put in your camel and all those things and build this. We have a lot of opportunity to do here, build a proper site script. And then once the site script is created, so I have my site script ready. So this is where everything kicks off. So this is my sites. This is the script that we'll be following. I'll go through it one by one and we'll see how this works. So I'll just quickly connect it back to my account. And now I'm connected to my SharePoint environment. I just connected using the Connect SPO service. And if you see here, I'm just trying to utilize my custom site script custom, which is nothing but my file over here, the site script custom. I'm just specifying the location and creating a variable here and getting the contents of it. So when I run over this, it creates a variable with the value. I ran properly. And now this is where I add my site script. So how do I do that? So there is a command called as add SPO site script. I could give it any title for the site script. So let me call it as Chicago. And let's pass the value of the site script custom JSON that we have, right? Let's pass it over to this. When I run this, if you see here, my site script just got created and this is the ID of it. So let me copy this ID to keep it handy. And it also created a name for it, which is custom site script demo Chicago. And it's such a simple thing that once you add a site script from your custom JSON, you just have to call another command line called as add SPO site design, which is nothing but the way to add this site script into a site design, and then you're done. So what it does is you can call a site script over here, and the site script I just created would be passed over here. And you could specify the title for it. For example, this is Nishanth custom site for Chicago. And I could specify the web template. So if you see over here, my SharePoint sites created have two things, right? You have team site and you have communication site, and you also have one with the group site being created. So these have web templates with them, right? So your communication site template is 68, your custom team site is 64, and then you could put in one for your without a team site and all group site and all those things. So for now, we'll just use a communication site web template. And we already, and again, with when a communication site is created, it comes up with three default things: topic, showcase, and blank. And we could add on top of it the various ones which will be creating on a custom level. So now, since I've added the site script I have created, and I could give it a name, I could specify the template that it has, and that's all. We should be able to add a site design. When I do run this, you see my site design just got created. So this site design with the name of Nishanth custom site Chicago, it said the web template is 68 for this. The site script ID is this is the definition and all those things. You could also set various other properties like preview image URL as default, all those things. And you could specify the other things as well. For now, we just added this site script into it. So making sure that this runs over here. And now if you go ahead and see my site over here, just refresh this. And when I try to create a site, since I've applied it to the communication site template, and if I go here, it added the Nishanth custom site Chicago, which is the site design I just created. So let me try creating with that. So let me call it M365 Chicago, which is created based on this new site design that we have added. Just finish this. And if you see here, as we were talking earlier, right? So what it is doing is not creating that based on the template. It is running on top of that, and it just applied the site design, and we can refresh to change the changes. What it did, it completed this action. It added my custom actions, my apply theme. It created the custom list I was talking about and all those things. The more the actions you add, the more time it takes, but it's pretty much straightforward. And since we have just two actions over here, it quickly created it for me. View my updated site. And it all changed back to the custom theme that I have added here, right? My custom cyan color, all those things came over here. So is that simple to do all those things? So you could add a site design. So site scripts need not be created just by a custom JSON that you create all, right? So that gives you much more control over doing it. But you could also extract a site script from an existing list. So the get SPO site script from list, you could just give the list URL, and once it is extracted to a variable, just call add SPO site script, that the same procedure that we have been following over here. So that site script gets added, and you could create a site design based on that. You could also do for a full web itself. So you could call it SPO site script from web, give it the URL, include branding, include theme, include regional settings, external sharing settings, and all those things. You could include what lists you need and all those things. And once you do that, you could also add, you could, once the site script is created, this variable can be added as a site script and then as a site design. How do you remove site script that are already present? So if you created something, do you want to remove it? You don't no longer need it. Go ahead and remove an SPO site script. So you can replace site scripts. You could, just have a site script ID of it, have a file created with a new site script JSON. Set SPO site script is for replacing. You could give the identity out of this, get the content of this, and replace it with that. So there are multiple options on PowerShell which you could use to do all these things. And you could also do a site design and removal, right? You could remove the site design in the similar fashion how you remove a site script. You could get all the site designs that you have on the tenant. If I run this, I'll see everything that is applied over here. Pretty much straightforward. You'll get all those things. You could get the site design that is running on a particular site. you could, yeah, this is something called, there's something called a scoping. So supposedly I need to add a site design that is visible only for certain users. I can set the rights. I can set it so that only certain users have the right on and can see the site designs added. So in that case, I just added my ID over here, my admin ID with the rights view. And if I try to call this site design over here and see the rights that it has, the one which I have created. So if I just add the site design ID over here and give it the right and call it and see the get value, I see it just has the view value. So you could specify permissions. You could audience target it as well. You could revoke as well. So that's about the site design. You could control its access. So and if you want to update the default site templates, right? If you want something like the blank topic and all those things to be added, use the key is default, and that would apply the site script that you have created to the site design. So having said that, and in the interest of time, let's go into the next topic, which is site theming. So we have covered in this session, we have covered how a site design works, how a site script can be created and attached to a site design. And we have seen various options that we could do with PowerShell. Again, this is all pretty much straightforward, but again, if you need any kind of an help, please feel free to reach out to me at any point of time on my LinkedIn profile. I can share the scripts with you, help you with the script and all those things, and we can work together on this. So let's go into the next topic, which is site theming. So what is site theming? So site themes are, again, branding. We have seen templatizing until now. So branding also has been a very important aspect of the SharePoint customizations. So we have always been running behind SharePoint to customize its templates and customize its branding. So again, since I was explaining in the as I was explaining in the before at the start of the session, how 2007, 10 and all evolved over the branding. So now we have an option to create a custom theme, and that can be added as part of your using PowerShell. So when I say themes, what do I mean? So if you see over here, if you go to any sites, and again, there is an option here where you call site design. You could see, you could apply various things. This is how you could apply this existing ones and all those things. You also have an option to change the look, which is nothing but changing the look and feel of this. So SharePoint comes with certain default themes, right? For example, let me run this command to bring those back. Refresh this back. If I go back to the themes, okay, I think I'm setting it. Okay, I'm hiding it, so it has to be false. So when I run this, and by default, when SharePoint sites are created, right? So what happens is it comes with certain themes. So if you go to the theme section now, you see these are the SharePoint themes. So there is teal, there is blue, and if you see, whenever I do this, certain aspects of the page, the footer, and all those things change. So these are your SharePoint themes. We also saw how we could hide those things so that you could enforce it to the users and create your custom themes. And this is where we have created your company themes, and you could select all those things. I could have a theme for finance, sales, marketing, and all those things so that all sites look similar. So how do we do that? So there is a custom tool, which is a Fluent UI-based theme designer, which gives you an option to create a theme and gives everything handy for you to use it in your code. So my primary color, it gives me an option to do a primary color. I mean, feel free to play around with this Fluent UI theme designer. It takes care of all your color palettes so that you could add all those things. And it also has an accessibility checker. For example, if it makes sure that all my design is proper, right? For example, I have a background as white. So my primary color, which is nothing but my primary color, has to be dark on top of it. So if I try to change it something like a light on the top of a light, it says your color palette is not proper because this is not visible to anyone. So the accessibility checker gives you an option to create your theme in such a way that you could see it happening right on the screen. And once you're good with everything and your accessibility is good, you could play around with this, make your theme proper and change your text color, you could change your background color. You also have an option to change your fabric palette, right? For example, you could play around to find out how these things work. For example, my hover color is over here. If you try to change the theme dark all to something like orange color over here, and if I try to hover over here, this change. So you could play around with all those things and make sure that it looks proper. And then once you have, you could export your theme, and it readily gives you an option to add it to your code, a JSON format, as it also gives you a postals format. So now what we could do is I've already added a sample one over here. I run over this, the one which we can copy, and once you run this, it is put into a variable. And now if you see, I can call it something like Chicago, which we have been following, and this theme palette is added into it. And when I run this, it just gave me it just added it over there. So if I try to run just this particular part, it tells me what it did. This is my theme light, this is my theme tertiary, all the properties came over here. So you could also remove over here and all those things. So we just created a custom San Chicago right now. Since I've been following this, just the name of this, but you could play around with this, have different colors and all those things. So let's go back to the site, see how it looks. Now, once I come back to my change the look option and go to my themes, you see it's the custom San Chicago that we just created got added over here. So you could play around with this, make sure that all those buttons, structure, everything applies properly. And this way you could enforce a theme on it. So now the other thing is you also need to set your global things, right? So let me pull that up to show in case that as well. So the other requirement that we usually have is to have a custom theme on for your organization level as well. So that needs a global admin permissions. And if you go into your settings and your org settings and your organization profile, you have an option to set your custom theme. So you could add a theme. For example, if you have a UX designer who is playing on the theme, you could add all those things, knows the format of the JSON and wants to add certain colors based on your organization, have it work. And then you could apply a theme, or else you could customize your default theme to change the logo. You see, I just put in an image, some image of it can be a logo and all those things. It has all self-explanatory on what is the default logo size and all it has to be. You could change the colors of it by having this color for the navigation bar color, accent color. You could reset colors, and that's how a global administrator can set up a global theme. So a global administrator can have a global theme, and you could specify your colors based on your specific requirement for your sales, finance, and all those things. So that's about the theming experience, right? So you have your site design, you have your site script, and you have your site themes which you could create. So another important thing that we wanted to showcase is the new features that have been coming. So there is a new feature that is coming as part of your site creation experience. So if I go back here and try to create a site and go to something like a communication site, you also get an option. So that's what. So this is currently under preview. See, this is, you might not see a feature that it's currently under targeted release, and this will be released in future time. But again, what Microsoft is doing is They're giving you an option to apply a template, which they are giving you based on certain things, right? Apply a site template, which is nothing but your site design, but they're renaming it a site template. And this site templates can be like a department wise. It has a certain template or certain design for it. They have a leadership connection you want to do. You can have something like a hero part or something like that. You could have a single thing kind of thing. A learning center would look like this. A new employee onboarding template would look like this. A showcase or a topic or a blank, all those things, they are currently customizing for communication, and they already comes as part of your templating experience. But there is also something for teams where you could have event planning, project management, all those things you could. This is the Microsoft design that comes. You could also create your site design by having a site script and having a design similar to what they have over here. And you could upload it. So there are steps to do this. You could upload this, and that would come under from your organization. So you could also enforce it in such a way that you can have your site templates which you create for your organization, and also certain things which Microsoft allows it. Again, you can play around their PowerShell scripts to make sure what you need, what you don't need, and all those things. You could use all those things to specify how your SharePoint looks. All in all, there are certain exciting things that are coming as part of your branding experience. There is a non-destructive approach which Microsoft has given us through your site design, site script, and site theming, which applies on top of a site, which is not like before, not like the templates, which is applying on top of the site and running the scripts. So these are certain things that could be used, and I hope I pretty much explained it so that you could start playing around, applying all those things into your sites to make it beautiful. So having said that, this is a screen where you could give us feedback. You could, your feedback is always valuable to us. Help us improve the conference. Help us who have been trying to. We are trying to just explain what we know as part of our day-to-day activities that we perform at job site. Because as I was saying in the beginning, Microsoft changes are being released regularly. I don't know if anybody could learn everything at all. With Power Platform going here, SPFX, with a lot of changes being released on a regular basis, as a community, we could help each other to impart or explain things that we know so that we all crack this and make our sites better. There is also raffles and giveaways, which you could apply, so you could win a raffle. And having said that, thanks again for everyone who has joined this call. And we can also take some Q&As right now. We have around 8 minutes left out, and it's not like we are just here on the session. So if you need any further assistance with applying a template or any PowerShell scripts, feel free to reach out to me, and I can share those artifacts with you and help you with all those things. So all in all, let's make our SharePoint sites better and great experience for the clients. Thank you.
All right, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand, post a note in the chat. We have a few minutes left. And we have one question. Web template is a number. Team equals 64, comms equals 68.
Exactly. Yeah. So web templates are the template numbers that Microsoft format uses, right? So 68 is communications. That's right. And team is 64. And there is one more, which is creating a SharePoint team site without a group. That is the web template number should be 1 if I'm not wrong.
Great question, Joseph. Any other questions?
And also thanks to the organizers and the moderators, Heather. So this has been a great event. So and thanks for, with so much speakers speaking around with multiple channels, I really appreciate the effort.
And thank you so much. And it takes a lot of prep work to prepare slides, prepare your talk, get the demos ready. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of valuable information. You do great work.
Thanks.
All right, well, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining us. Visit the Say Hello channel. Stop by sponsors one last time. Thank them again for making this event possible, and we'll see you next time.